Good day, everybody. It is 22nd of November, 2025. It's Saturday, and it's 2:40 in the afternoon. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a late start today. I was looking at a lot of news, a lot of things going on. And one of the big pieces of news, that I don't know, I guess it should surprise everybody, is Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning from Congress. And I don't know, she's probably been getting too much bullying in the past days, and powerful people, I tell you what, I've seen it so often. They put a lot of pressure on people to get people to do exactly what they want them to do. I mean, that was true, remember, back in the days of Ron Paul, when he was running for president, and looked like he was going to probably get the Republican nomination and possibly even become president. He ran I think it was what do you call these, donorship sort of a thing, and he got a lot of money. And he was, I guess his campaign was working really well, and he was exposing a lot of pretty, I guess you'd call it corrupt things about a lot of his, the people he was running against. He didn't yet get to Mitt Romney, and I guess Mitt Romney, and it was put out that Mitt Romney threatened to ruin him, to ruin his career and everything if he put out anything negative about Mitt Romney. Anyway, so Mitt Romney got the nomination at that time. And anyhow, and I've seen it myself. I've seen, like I've mentioned, I think on this channel before, when some MP gave the highest military general in the United States a DWI because he was driving drunk on a military base. And, nothing happened to the general, but this, I don't know if this guy was a private or a corporal or whatever, but this MP, virtually, he got a dishonorable discharge, and it kind of marks you for life. You can't get a good job for the rest of your life. So I've seen it many, many times in many different things anyway, and maybe the rest of you have seen that sort of thing too. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, also, as you know, she had some death threats against her, and maybe she just didn't really want to put up with that. And another person, a lot of this is about the Epstein thing, as we all know, and Israel. And Israel, if you know, they are the world masters in assassinations. They have assassinated many, many, many people. And I would put the CIA in second place, the Israelis. And there's another person, her name is Candace Owens, and I guess she has been threatened now with a death threat. And also apparently has a little bit of links to Israel as well, but I'll get to that one a little bit later. First, I'll talk about this war going on, what's going on between Ukraine and Russia. And anybody that's been observing this conflict, wants to see it end. And as far as I can see, and a lot of people don't talk about it, even though everybody will really acknowledge it. Anybody that knows anything, like Scott Ritter, of course, or Colonel Douglas McGregor, lots of people. There's a big elephant in the room, and if Russia is talking about they want to eliminate the root causes of this war, the elephant in the room is the Banderite ideology. And people have been raised their entire lives with this ideology. They've been raised to hate Russia, hate Russians, and all of them learn the phrase as children, Bandera is our father, and all this. And Bandera stands for massacring of people, not just Poles. Everybody's Poles, the Poles, and of course the Poles as well. But there's a lot of Poles that were also doing the massacring, and it was downplayed, of course, the Belarusians, and the Belarusians lost a much larger portion of their population than the Poles, much, much larger. So it was, and there's also books written about the Belarusian genocide, and of course, often, for the most part, led by the Germans, and the massacring was done by mostly Ukrainians, but of course Poles were involved in it, Baltic people were involved. I don't know about people from Finland. Hi. Speaking English too, huh? Oh, Chinese. I've seen 3 Chinese, or 4, just walked by here. No. Belarus is turning into China. No, I like the Chinese. I like the Monty Python song. I like Chinese. They only come up to your knees. They're wise and they're witty and they're willing to please. You know how that is. Anyway, I don't know if that's demeaning. It's just a comedy song, and I guess we all have to laugh at each other or something like. But even probably the people that wrote that song like Chinese, and they probably really do. Chinese, I don't see, Donald Trump and everybody else are out to get the Chinese. That's, that is the big threat. Of course, they got to get rid of the Russians first. I mean, the Russian threat, at least. You're not going to annihilate all the Russians. It's not like Adolf could have annihilated all the Jews, and I don't know. And I don't think he really was going to do that either, or trying to do that, or even the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians wanted to do that too. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the Banderite religion. And so that is the root cause of it all. And those in power in Ukraine that seek to indoctrinate the people with this Bandera ideology, it's a kind of a strange mix, as you all know. Part of this school of Banderite ideology is, of course, this myth of superiority. And I think Hitler, of course, tried to do that. I mean, so many people try to do that. Whether you say God's chosen people, or Obama's the exceptional people, or the master race, and all this. And of course, the Banderites have the same thing. So anytime you hear about this sort of thing, and everybody talks about, it was kind of, I tell you what, when I was younger, what really got me is people were talking about how evil nationalism. Some people said that. And I was kind of thinking, well, what's so really evil about that? It's like and I've even heard a lot of prominent people. I don't know if it was Tucker Carlson or not, or whatever. I don't want to smear Tucker Carlson. But anyway, some people say, well, what's wrong with nationalism? That's love of your country and all that sort of thing. But of course, this nationalism is the beginning, I guess. Probably they'd say that, Yoda would say something like, I don't know, oh, that leads to this. But nationalism is, like a belief we are better than others. It's sort of like in religion too. Our religion is the proper religion, and the other ones, I mean, it's like, I don't know, I kind of see that as a big stepping stone into some sort of disaster. So I don't know, maybe we ought to calm down a little bit and start trying to get along with each other, instead of trying to say, we're superior to you guys, so you guys better bend over. The Israelis saying, what is it, that the Palestinians are vermin, cockroaches. And I think even in America, I think originally the founding fathers were saying that a black person rated as 3/4 of a person. However that works out, I don't understand. But you're just 3/4. Where's the other half? Where's the other part of you? Why do you show up here not prepared? You're only 3/4 here. Get the other quarter. I don't know. So, but a lot of these Banderites, of course, they miss the point, thinking, and of course, even Banderites have sometimes come to the conclusion, as we all know, that's been said, even by these military people, that would not surrender, and the Russians were surrounding them and asking them, please surrender, give up, and we don't want to kill you because you're our brothers. And the Ukrainians said, Russians don't surrender. How many times have I said that the first time that anybody was referred to as Russians were people that government centered in Kiev? So those were the first Russian considered people. That was when the government of Russia was seated in Kiev, and the people that were under the jurisdiction of that government were called Russians. And they just moved the capital a few times, Novgorod, I believe, or whatever, and then ended up in Moscow. So now, and then the Bandera comes up from Lvov, by the way, and he starts to say, we are different, we are more superior, we are the best people, we dug the Black Sea with our bare hands, and we built the pyramids of Egypt, and Jesus was not Jewish, no, Jesus was Ukrainian. But the Jewish part, that comes in here in a minute too, So I always say, well, why is it that Kolomoisky, who's Jewish, he is the main supporter and the funder of the Nazi Azov battalion? Doesn't make any sense. You know, there's the right sector and the Maidan people and all of this. It's just unbelievable. And they're all run by Jewish people. Well, Jews. Zelensky, obviously, he does the same salute and everything. And yeah, so he is saying that he is a, I don't know, some people say, you say the word fascist. That's not the right term, but I'm a fascist and I'm Jew. And it's like, it's like, well, I don't hate the Jews because I'm a Jew, but we hate the Jews. So don't think about it. Stop confusing me. Anyway. So anyway, and they don't want to, and they say the Russians are, and like, but we're the Russians, but the Russians are, I don't know, can you see what is going on in Ukraine? It's like, I don't know where they come up with this stuff, and they gosh, I don't know. It's just unbelievable. So, and it makes you wonder how did they brainwash people to get to this point, to like, it's like self-hating, you know? It's just unbelievable. Some more Chinese people coming. What the heck is going on? Am I in Belarus or am I in China? So, anyway. Yes, indeed, the ideology. So, and the fighting is always going to go on until people start to wake up a little bit. Oh, ni hao. Yeah. Was in Megua. No, yet. No. No. Coming up with some Chinese. I don't know hardly anything. What am I in China here? Anyway, so let's see. So sad part of German history, you know, which is my area of study, is that the political class have always wanted a confrontation. I'm talking about the political class. The people, you know, are, I guess I'd say ignorant of all of this. And ignorance is not a crime, and it's not a derogatory term. Ignorance means you don't know something. So the many people are ignorant of this, but the political and the ruling classes over there in Germany, they've always wanted a confrontation with Russia. Like I said, I studied that, and I was really shocked, and I keep saying this in a lot of videos, that I was so shocked when I see this thing about setting up actually the Holy Roman Empire. One of the main goals was to keep the Slavic peoples out of Europe. Actually, it was to keep the Muslims out of Europe as well. If you know the Song of Roland and Charlemagne and Clovis and Charles Martel and all that kind of stuff in history where, Roland, blow your horn. I'm not talking about Trump and Netanyahu now. I'm just saying Roland, to blow the horn thing. Not that horn. So, anyway, what else here? But it's like the British. The British have always had this dream. It's this dream also against the right, which is very strange because you look at King George and Nicholas of the last Tsar of Russia, and William, the last Kaiser Tsar. It's just the adaptation of the word Caesar. I've said that in another thing. But there's the King George, and I think it was their grandmother was Queen Victoria, so they're all related in that way. Anyway, then they had the Willie Nicky letters. It's like the Federalist Papers, in a way, or something like that. And but nevertheless, they've wanted some sort of conquest. And I remember even before that, I think you can go back to the 1860s, and the British wanted to take Crimea, and they want to take Crimea to this very day. That is where the British are mostly centered, is in Odessa, and they're the ones doing all of that nastiness, and they're leading the Ukraine to do this, to attack the Kerch Bridge and all of this sort of thing. Russia puts up a lot of defenses against that now, and that shouldn't be a secret. I mean, a lot of people in intelligence know that the British, their main contingency of spies and all that is in Odessa. So, but they want, the United States, of course, also, all of they all want Crimea. As a matter of fact, Turkey wants Crimea. What is it about Crimea? The soil's not so good for farming, so that's not part of it. It's got some pretty good weather there. I guess it's strategic. Everyone believes, they got some nice ports there, not just Odessa. Mariupol is like also on the Azov, but you got Sevastopol and all that, and they believe they can dominate the Crimea, which is, I guess, a big goal. The Black Sea, dominate the Black Sea from there, from Crimea. So anyway, a lot of other these countries, to some lesser extent or off and on, they've also had this animosity towards Russia. It's like, what is Russia? Why do you guys want to take over? Why do you want to defeat Russia? And obviously that is in Donald Trump's head. That's a kind of one of his goals, and I think he's going with Plan B now. He might really be going for Plan B. So Donald Trump, that's why he doesn't make any decisions. And one day he says one thing, and one day he says the next. Everything keeps changing. It's because he's looking, for which and what cards he can play to gain some sort of domination. And of course, he's probably looking at this thing and noticing now that the word has been coming out that India is still buying Russian oil. So he thought if he could, stop India, and India was rumored to be supposedly switching over to be buying oil from Saudi Arabia. Maybe that was just some sort of a head fake. I don't know. I heard that. I put that out. But they're still getting oil from Russia. Somebody wrote, I don't know if it was on mine. Yeah, I think it was on my my notes. So somebody said, and I was thinking, how do you know that? Somebody said India will never stop buying oil from Russia. And I was thinking, well, I guess whoever wrote that was right. It's I guess they're not stopping. So it's not that I was like so wrong. I was just thinking, they probably will, because they don't want to risk the wrath of the United States. I didn't say either or, but I was wondering, well, what kind of cards does Donald Trump with his cards, you don't have any cards. What kind of cards can Donald Trump play against India? I don't know. Maybe not that much. But anyway, I don't know everything. I just know most everything. I'm just kidding. But then you see the Baltic states, and then who was it? Somebody was talking to Donald Trump. It was an audio message, and somebody was saying, well, Russia's going to go after the Baltic states. And Trump says, I don't think Putin wants to do that. So Donald Trump is not so stupid. Well, he's not really stupid anyway. I think he just plays around sometimes like he's stupid. So it's like if Russia wanted to go after the Baltics, they would have gone after the Baltics a long time ago. Why do they start with Ukraine that was armed to the teeth? It's pretty stupid. I don't know. Some people are really, really stupid. And I think whoever this guy that was talking with Donald Trump, whoever it was, the guy is, it sounds like he actually believed that. So he is stupid. And I don't know. Because you look at Merz, Baerbock, that she's not playing with a full deck. But Merz, he's cunning and crafty enough. He worked with BlackRock. So I think he's not stupid. I think he's just playing around like I said, like Macron and a lot of these people. These guys are, in a way, they have to be chess players as well. But it's obviously an obsession of the collective West to bring Russia to its proverbial knees. But they're going to have to put that off for a while. They can't do it without the United States and Donald Trump. Basically, he is the military commander in the United States, the commander-in-chief, as you will. And so, it's like, ugh. But let's get to that peace plan in a little bit, too. And obviously, it's the same old thing. It's the same old thing. Donald Trump is, I guess, losing patience. So maybe he's realized he's not going to, and he knew that at the beginning, you're not going to beat a war with Russia. And it looks like his dream of collapsing Russia economically is not panning out as he thought it would just a few weeks ago. He's starting to look and see the signs, and he's starting to realize, well, I guess we have to see things realistically. And Ukraine, if they don't negotiate a settlement, they will have to surrender. That is the sign that as Donald Trump has been giving lately. Let's see if he changes his mind again tomorrow, tonight, I don't know. And he's probably going to be accosted by, the seven dwarfs again. Apparently the seven dwarfs are all going to be landing in Kiev. I don't know about Ursula von der Leyen. I think she's at the G20 in South Africa. Maybe she's just putting in an appearance there. I have not the faintest idea. Or maybe she's not going to join them. Or maybe it's just a rumor. But they're all supposed to be meeting in Kiev tomorrow. Merz and Macron and Starmer. We'll see. To give this support for Zelensky. And Zelensky gave anyway, let me keep going with my notes. I wasn't finished with the Bandera thing. Stop misdirecting me here. I just mostly wanted to say that the Ukrainians and the Russians are, indistinguishable for the most part, as well as the Belarusians. And, Bandera is trying to make them think they were something different and superior. And it's weird that, Bandera primarily wanted to kill Jews. He said he wanted to roll, 60,000 or 70,000 Jewish heads at the feet of Adolf Hitler. And Hitler is not even that much against Jews. I mean, a lot of that is just a bunch of BS. Obviously, he was against Jews, but not so much where he really did want to slaughter all Jews. That is just a myth. He had Jews in his military. He had Jews even in his cabinet, and he made deals with the Jews to, assist to try to move them out and get them to Palestine. There were deals for that. And if he kills them, they can't go to Palestine. So how does that work out? In other words, that's a bunch of BS. So as much as he was obviously anti-Semitic, that it's not that he had this major goal. They killed 6 million Jews. It was weird that there wasn't 6 million Jews to kill. Very strange. And the Red Cross records, I think they have it at I think some people stretch it. They said to really, really, really stretch it. I think it was 217,000 people, not Jews, that were, if they were executed in these camps and things like that. So that's a far cry from 6 million. I don't know how they, but another thing, it's on record. It's in news that the Jewish people said that they killed 6 million Jews in World War I before Adolf Hitler was even in power. So it makes me wonder, where did all these Jewish people? They must have been importing them from where? From all over the place. Anyway, and Judaism is a religion. It's not a nationality. I don't know, but don't listen to me, I guess. So anyway, Bandera, of course, primarily, but don't tell the Ukrainians, he was trying to enslave all of his Ukrainians, the Ukrainian people. So I can't talk now because too many people are walking here. Здравствуйте. So it's anyway, you guys probably, wow, what a pretty girlfriend. Too bad you guys couldn't see her. Anyway, you saw that guy there that walked that way, and somebody else coming here, but they weren't Chinese, strangely enough. So anyway, yeah, so he was ideologically, obviously, enslaving the Ukrainians, obviously, to exterminate the sub-enslaved people, or just, but I guess it's going today. I guess the sub-enslavement is of Russians, I suppose. All other, but I guess, his thing was to go after the subhuman races, which Belarusians, which of course are the same as the Ukrainians, but don't tell those Ukrainian people that they have to find some enemies somewhere. They have to be united against some enemy, and right now it's the Russians, and by connection the Belarusians. But don't tell them that virtually they're the same gene pool as the Ukrainians, because that would ruin the whole thing. So anyhow, but you have a hybrid of opposites. So you have the Jews, not even Zionist ones, which I don't like, but it's like there's different Jews. There's some that are fabulous people, and then they have these ones that think it's their duty to cheat to cheat and to hate the goy, and then you have the Zionist ones that have the worst of all worlds over there, that they got to cheat all of everybody, and everybody is inferior to them and all this. I mean, but you know, there are different classes of it. The worst ones, I guess, are Palestinians, maybe. I have no idea. I don't know. So what is it? So if you convert, then automatically you're not a subhuman anymore. I don't know. I'll tell you what, at some point in time, you're not even going to be able to talk about this subject on here. But then you have the self-hating Jew, like Norman Finkelstein, and I guess Max Blumenthal, and Aaron Mate, and there's a whole lot of them. And I keep wondering, well, what does that make Ted Cruz and Donald Trump? You know, they say that they're Zionist Christians. Trump doesn't admit it, but obviously he feels himself that if he just comes out and admits it, you know. But like Lindsey Graham and I don't know, self-hating Christians, maybe I guess we should call them. Yeah, but I said like Kolomoisky and Zelensky and all that. I don't know. They must have a inner battle inside of themselves. But anyway, I don't want to keep dwelling on this point. And Benjamin Netanyahu, it turns out that there's not much different with him as compared to Zelensky and Kolomoisky and Podolyak and all these other, and Yermak and all these other Jewish Nazis, because Netanyahu, he is maybe the biggest financial supporter of Hamas. He goes down as that. They've said that even in the Israeli Knesset. They've said that. Knesset? Israeli parliament. Yeah, Knesset, I guess. And Max Blumenthal put that out. And even the people in Hamas know that. They admit that that's where a lot of the money came from. Like I said, and it's a known fact. Benjamin Netanyahu and his people were sending money to Qatar, and the Qatar were giving that money, so that was kind of a laundering, sort of a hidden mini, thing, and they were giving it to Hamas. And what about the stand down order on October 7th, to bring about the Hannibal Directive, and Israeli soldiers admitting in court that they were told to stand down and to let that stuff happen. And then how many Israelis, and you pay a big hefty fine if you come out and if you say this, so that most of the Israelis were killed by Israeli fire with tanks and Apache helicopters and burning them alive. And it's all to say that Hamas killed how many people. I don't know, it was like 317 people actually died, not 1,200. But anyway, it's still a nasty business. It's so very much evidence. But a lot of that is in Israel, and it's suppressed. So it's like not any different, I guess Nazis are Nazis. And there is obviously Jewish Nazis. So Nazi is not a religion. Nazism is an ideology. And Jewish people can adopt the Nazi ideology just as much as anybody else can. That's the point I'm trying to make. Okay, so. And I wish Fuentes would say this, or somebody else, because then they'll get really popular. But my small channel that is heavily suppressed, obviously, by YouTube, that will never see the light of day, and I'll be lucky if I'm listed as having 25 views. So, not a big deal. Anyway. So, and Benjamin Netanyahu, right along with that, Benjamin Netanyahu, as we all saw, said essential is controlling the media. They control Google. That's very obvious. And YouTube. Obvious. And he was saying there they need to control TikTok. That was TikTok. And X. He said, yes, X too. And I don't know if they got Elon Musk in their pocket. I don't know what's allowed to be said and what's not to be said on X. I don't know. I have a lot of hope in Elon Musk, but a lot of people succumb to a lot of pressure. And if you are living under threats of assassination, and who was the best assassination people in the world? I just already told you that. Oh boy, what a circle we're looking at here. I'll get to Candace Owens in a minute too. A little bit, anyway. So this is a cognitive warfare, as the Chinese have called, the Chinese, they just walk past me here. But the Chinese are the one that came up with this term, I guess, the cognitive warfare. And of course, it is to create cognitive dissonance within. And if you know what cognitive dissonance is, if you don't know what it is, I'll explain it to you right now. Cognitive dissonance is basically, it's like the quality of being hypnotized while you're not under hypnosis. Very, very fascinating. So, as you see so many people, they will ignore the very nose on their face. Is mine running, by the way? They'll ignore the very nose on their faces. They'll be told the sky is red, it's not blue. And they'll go for that. And they're so... Oh, that's the... Oh, that was Russian. I was thinking I was talking in German. I spring my brain. I have cognitive dissonance. My mind goes right into German whenever I'm thinking I have to speak in a foreign language. I gotta start getting to Russian at some point in time, but I need to create this myself. It's not going to happen through these schools, I'm finding out. Who has this kind of money? I don't have 2,000 rubles every month to go in there and not learn to speak, but just get grammar thrown at you, and you forget the grammar when you don't know how to speak and use it properly. So I think I would have told them that maybe you should actually concentrate as much on speaking at the very beginning as much as grammar, and not just keep throwing grammar and grammar and grammar at everybody, and the classes have too many people, and it's just not done. And like I said, my last class, it was all these guys sat in the front row, and they kept blurting out everything, and half of them already was speaking Russian for 10 years or more, or 20 years, a lot of them, before they even came to that class. And whenever the teacher asks a question, these people can blurt out the answer immediately. One guy had been going for many years, and he's from Saudi Arabia as a pilot, and he keeps going to this class, and he's got retirement and a lot of money, so and he's going there to meet women, and a lot of people are in that school to meet women. I'll tell you what, so many of them. Guy from Georgia who also is fluent in Russian, and he's sitting in that class there, but he's going to that school to meet Russian or Belarusian women there, not in our class. I don't know. It's very difficult. You can't ever get to speak because all these people come up with the answers before I even, and some of us Chinese people, the Chinese people that were in the class, before we could figure out what the teacher actually said, these people had already answered the question. So we have to think of what did the teacher say, and then try to formulate in our heads an answer to the question, and these people have already answered it, and we're already on to the third question before we can even think of that. Oh, it's just, you cannot win. So you can't learn to speak, unfortunately, in those classes, because I'll tell you how the universities work here, and I presume also, and this was probably after COVID, everybody's allowed to transfer around in the classes, and all these people, they always go down a class. They don't challenge themselves. They go down to a class, for the review and keep going and stuff that they already know, and they're sitting in a class, and the rest of us are sitting there like the Chinese people, myself, and who else? Mostly that's it. Like a lot of the Turkish people that were in there, so we had substantial amount of Turkish people as well. A lot of them, they have tourist areas in Turkey that caters to Russians. So they have dual language in a lot of towns in the touristy areas in Turkey, and a lot of them have been hearing Russian most of their life. So they're very good, and I don't know. I hate to sound like a whining crybaby, and when I actually should be continuing on with the news here. But anyway, I have to figure out something different. And I don't want to pay. I'll tell you what, if you want to get a tutor over here, this is what I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you to learn Russian over there. I have an American friend here. He learned Russian in California for years before he came here. And he never even went to class. He's in medical school here. Bodybuilder guy. Andrew, in case you're watching this, Andrew. But, I don't know. It's you just can't win. I was going to say something else, but I got onto subject of Andrew. Oh, I was going to say, yeah, take Russian classes over there, not over here. And if you want to get a tutor, sure, a tutor will probably work very, very good. But you know what the cost per tutor is? 20 euros per hour, 20 euros per hour. I tell you what, there's classes in Germany that you can take in Russian, and it's like 3 nights a week, and I think it's 2.5 or 3 hours a night, and it goes for 3 months, and it costs 30 euros. So what you pay for 1.5 hours for a tutor over here in Minsk, you pay for an entire class in Germany. So I tell you what, if you want to learn Russian, don't come over here, because it's not going to work. Don't come for a class for 2 weeks or for even 6 months. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Sad to say. Anyway, you guys know. And when you go ahead and try that, you'll say, oh, Duke told me that. It's not going to work. But I can't speak Russian after 6 months. So let me get on to another subject here. I think I got cognitive dissonance. Out of the way. Anyway, the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll, he'll probably, because it's not happened yet, probably fly to Russia, probably Moscow, in 1 week, and he's going to take his staff of generals. I guess they met with Zelensky Thursday, just a couple days ago, and they're going to be down. It's Dusty to poodle. So, people walking their dog here. I think that lady knows English, because she gave me that kind of smile. I guess you start to realize that smile means you know English, or at least some. So anyway, Dan Driscoll is going to be flying to Moscow, more likely, and he's going to be talking with maybe Putin personally, but anyway, they talked with Zelensky, and this is all about this 28-point peace plan. And if we look at this stuff realistically, the West should be very, very glad that Russia is even willing to negotiate, because obviously they have, and Donald Trump has finally acknowledged that. He's finally acknowledged that Russia holds the initiative on the battlefield big time. I guess this surrendering in Pokrovsk and Kupiansk, and seeing what the reaction is of Ukraine, Donald Trump's starting to realize, I think the Russians are actually the ones telling me the truth. And Kellogg and all these other people lying to Donald Trump and saying, we're winning. The Ukrainians are willing. They're winning. They're winning. Slava Ukraina. He's realizing that that's not really what's going on here. But anyway, as this started out as a proxy war between the United States and Russia, with Ukraine as the proxy, and now it's like it's pretty straight. And now it looks like you got the Europeans and the Ukrainians on the other side, and Donald Trump has kind of realized, he wants to be a winner, and he realizes he won't be a winner if he continues this proxy war as it is going. So he says, I can't be a winner here, and I don't want to look at these hands. I don't want to, anyway, I don't want to look like Thomas Massey, a loser. No, I'm just kidding, Thomas Massey, if you saw this video. I like Thomas Massey. And if he won his seat in Congress, he must be a winner. Anyway, but Donald Trump doesn't want to be seen as a clear loser, and even J.D. Vance has put out, who did he put that out to anyway? But he said that it doesn't matter how much money and how many weapons are going to be shipped to Ukraine, it's not going to work. So J.D. Vance knows that, because it looks like Donald Trump knows that. And so this thing very well may end now. That may well end very, very soon. And if they don't end it, guess what? Russia's going to be going all the way to Odessa. And Donald Trump now realizes that they're going to get the entire Donbass. And they may as well just give it up anyway, because I don't think Russia is going to demand anything less. So, okay. Zelensky should rush to sign a deal. A lot of people are saying that. And he didn't sign in March 2022 because the West, including Joe Biden, convinced him not to do that. And what was the result of that? They would have lost Crimea, and that's it. They would have had the Donbass. They would have kept the Donbass. And they would have kept Zaporozhye and Kherson. But since that time, they've lost all those things. And do they want to lose Nikolaev? That would probably be the next one. Maybe they're going to start losing some even more. Then, of course, Zelensky talks about dignity now. It's incredible. And as you guys should know, Zelensky doesn't give a crap about the Ukrainian people. He doesn't give a crap about a lot of stuff. The European leaders, they don't give a crap about their people either. They care about their golden parachutes. So I'll get into that a little bit more here. I mean, I'm going to keep on stressing that in every video. So, and so what's going on? The European leaders, so what's going on here now? As they keep on prodding Zelensky, keep going, keep going, keep going. Well, why do they do that, you know? It's because they have nothing to lose. They have nothing to lose. They just, as a matter of fact, they're probably more than happy to see Russians and Ukrainians killing each other. And they don't give a crap about Ukraine either. They're watching Ukraine get taken over more and more and more. And Zelensky doesn't care. And so these people, they just keep, like I said, they're doing this for graft. They're doing this for more money. As long as they can keep this going, their golden parachute gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Zelensky's and the European leaders, Ursula von der Leyen, I don't know, maybe her $1 billion Pfizer corruption thing was not enough for her. I don't know how much she shaved off of that, you know. I don't know who got what. I don't know how many facilitators were involved in that. I don't know. She might have gotten 600 million. I have not the faintest idea. She profited very, very handsomely. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Wow, this corruption, and we all see this. This is all very, very obvious stuff. You know, you don't need a crystal ball. So they're all stinking rich. They care nothing for their countries at all. Not at all. These people, they own no loyalty to anybody but themselves, maybe their family and some of their friends. And who are their friends? Their friends are the other ones that are building their golden parachutes. Wow, how can I say that? How can I say that? Maybe there was once a wise man. I don't know if a lot of you have probably heard of him. His name was Jesus. And Jesus said, by their fruits you shall know them, or know them by their fruits. So what are the fruits of these people? So what are we watching them doing? As it's probably now about 2 million Ukrainian men have died. 2 million. Do you think Zelensky cares? Oh, we got to keep on fighting, knowing it's a war that he can't win, that the Ukraine cannot win it, not even if the United States goes in. And Donald Trump even knows this. And Donald Trump is making it clear, we're not going to get involved in this war, and we know we can't win. You know, not even with the United States. Donald Trump, he might say, oh yeah, we can, but he knows that they can't win. And Donald Trump, early on in this presidency, at this term, he said, anybody who would go to war against Russia needs to get their head examined. You cannot. War is Russia's business. That is the business of Russia, is war. And because they have been threatened with war, and they have been war has been made against Russia for hundreds of years. So Donald Trump knows that. Zelensky knows that. He's running out of people. People are fleeing right and left. Not only that, more people are fleeing. Well, I'll put it out right now. Diana Panchenko, she put out, and she is a award-winning Ukrainian journalist living in exile because there's death threats against her. And she's put out a lot of damaging stuff about what's going on in this wicked regime. And she's talking now about this mass exodus. All these people that bought these Rolls Royces, I don't know if they're sold their Rolls Royces or they found a nice garage or whatever, but so many people from all around Kiev, they're bailing out like rats on a sinking ship, and they're all heading to Europe. They're parking their money, huge sums, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars right now are being transferred from Kiev to Europe. And lots of people getting on their airplanes going south to Turkey and then getting up north to go to the rest of Europe. And all of these golden billion. I guess I think the Russian called them the golden billions. Anyway, they're bailing out of Ukraine. And shh, I'm supposed to talk about that. I mean, a lot of these rich people, they already have their children and everything in schools in Florida, just like Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, mostly in Florida. Zelensky, he's got his nice villa in Florida. That's probably where I don't know if is he going to be able to go there? I'll tell you what, part of the deal that's going to be hammered out, and trust me about this, is some sort of amnesty, I guess, for Zelensky. Somebody's going to be giving him amnesty, and there's no doubt about that. Anyway, just saying. And I guess that's a word that Ukraine has put into these documents in the 28-point peace plan anyway. Amnesty. I talked about that yesterday. You have to watch that video. Okay. That has been suppressed, of course, by Google. Anyway. Is anybody going to deny the truth of Jesus' statement? To know them by their fruits. That's why I love Jesus so much. And I don't even necessarily consider myself a Christian, to be honest with you. Because some people say I'm not a Christian. They say, you have to believe everything that's written in the Bible. God wrote the Bible. And I was sitting there looking through the Bible and I said, who's the author of this? But anyway. Oh wait, Charlie Kirk, he said God wrote it. But I just can't find the proof of that. Somehow, I don't know, I'm not even from Missouri. What do they call it? The show me state? Show me. Show me. Show me. Where does it say that in there? You know? I don't know. I was thinking maybe a Christian is somebody that goes by the teachings of Jesus. The problem is that I don't know that everything that's written in the Bible is accurate. Did Jesus do this and say this? But I look at some of the things that obviously somebody must have been very wise and brilliant to say certain things that is attributed to Jesus. And I know that Jesus existed and Jesus did say those things. And there are things also in the books that are not written in the New Testament, like the book of Thomas. There are some amazing things written there too. Some things that I don't really understand at all. Maybe the book of John, maybe the book of Enoch. I don't know. I'm not a big scholar. I don't know all about all of these things, but some. Anyway, then there's the Egyptian Bible that I don't even know that much about. But shh, we're not supposed to be knowing about these things, people. You're not supposed to talk about them. Anyway. So let's keep going. Let's look at what else is going here. I start to look at those leaders between the East and the West. Why is it strange? It's so strange that Lukashenko and Putin and even Xi, they actually do things. They care and they actually do things that benefit their countries and their people. And in the West, somehow it's always benefiting the billionaires and the big billionaire businesses and they themselves, the politicians. Very strange. I don't know. It's just maybe something I'm just not seeing properly, I guess. I guess I must be mistaken, right? Wow. Anyway. So, Trump is threatening to cut off the intel sharing and the weapons. I thought he wasn't giving weapons. I thought there was no weapons going to Ukraine. Well, anyway, somehow he said he's going to cut off the intel sharing and the weapons that are going to Ukraine unless Zelensky signs a peace deal. Looks like, he said the 27th of November, but he said, that's just tentative. Well, all these things tend to get pushed back again. So in other words, they don't have to take me seriously is maybe what he's saying. And of course, it's going to be going back and forth. Something tells me that it's not going to be signed by the 27th of November. I don't know where I get that impression. Anyway, but Russia has made their points very clear and they've never deviated. You don't even have to go to the Russians, to be honest with you. They insist on certain things and there are certain things. And I don't know, Zelensky talks about dignity, but we get to that here. And so Zelensky has called the 7 dwarfs into action. He's written to all of them. They have a whole bunch of messages. And as he always does when he gets himself into gets scared and come on and help me. Come on, you guys, and help me. But actually it's he helping them. They're the ones that want to keep this thing going and to sacrifice the lives of all the Ukrainians. Well, Zelensky as well. He doesn't give a crap about them. And of course, none of these European leaders give a crap. As a matter of fact, they're probably very happy to watch Ukrainians die. But shh, don't tell that to Zelensky. They have to say that they love the Ukrainians, but we stand with Ukraine. And but anyway, Donald, or I think it's a lot of time. I don't know who was saying this. Zelensky's he's writing some pretty good stuff here. He says he gave an address to the Ukrainian people, and his address was saying that it's either about dignity or losing a partner. So Ukraine can either hold its dignity, or we have to lose a partner. So, and what he means by we will continue the war and hold our dignity, and we'll be a proud people. And what he's trying to do is trying to tell the Ukrainian people, yeah, let's keep on fighting and dying to certain death under Russian artillery, or we will lose a key partner. Some guy's spying on me over there, staring at me in the woods. Can't show you guys because I'd have the wrong camera on. But anyway, so obviously it's not decided yet, but we'll see. And I think Donald Trump is maybe going to be a little bit pushier this time. I think he's getting a little bit pissed off, and he's probably finally come to his senses. I'm just guessing this. I really do have a feeling that is the case right now. I'm not saying that something's going to be signed. I don't know. I think that Zelensky is going to take the latter, and he is going to not sign. And I think it's going to go on for a little while. And well, let's see anyway. Anything can happen. I'm not saying that I am positive, but that's how it looks like it's leaning, because Zelensky doesn't want to end the war. Everybody wants to be tough guys nowadays. So, and Zelensky, if he does sign it, he's probably going to get killed by somebody else, unless this signature will be conducted, say, in Florida, and Zelensky's not going to go back to Ukraine. That could be possible too. Maybe that will be part of the agreement, to sign it in some other place, not in Kiev, of course. And they'll still try to hunt him down. But Zelensky, I don't know. Well, we'll see how many security guards he can hire. He's got billions. It's very, very possible. Anyway, I'll get to that too, that he's got a lot of billions. I'll get to that one. There's some really incredible news. So anyway, but when he gave his address to the nation, he didn't seem to mention anything about all these people dying, all these probably 2 million people now that have died under Russian artillery. Instead, he said, we're the shield of Europe. Like Putin is going to attack after he's done with us. Yeah. Like I said, they have nothing to lose, the European leaders, so they're going to demand that he keeps on going, obviously. What else? Why would they tell him to surrender? Why, or not to surrender, but to sign a peace deal? Why? It doesn't benefit them at all. And as long as the battle keeps going, the money keeps coming to them. So, from their own taxpayers, by the way. Yes, now here comes this other corruption thing. Zelensky probably has a lot more than we think, because there's been a bigger Ukrainian corruption scandal that's kind of hushed right now, but the U.S. government knows fully about it. Larry Johnson mentioned this, that it's a $48 billion. It comes from weapons procurement, and it's not 100 million. It's 48 billion with a B, not 100 million. Everybody is freaking out about 100 million, but now what about 48 billion? Not 100 million. Wow. And the U.S. State Department, or U.S. Department of War, I guess is what they call it now. They know all about this. So Hegseth is in on it, and they have started a. That guy gave me a kind of a dirty look there. So if I get attacked, he's cutting off. So anyway, he just maybe didn't like my language. Sure, some people don't like Americans anyway. So anyhow, the War Department has opened up a criminal investigation concerning that matter. Wow. And that's all that I know about it. I don't know, probably more will be coming out while I'm even making this video, before it's even uploaded, which will probably be very late, like usual. Anyway, well, what else happened there? Ma'am Donnie, he met with Trump in the White House, and I guess they were really giggling. They got on very, very well together. Very strange, isn't it? First they had the threats, mostly Trump threatening this communist, and looks like they get along very well, which is fine. I think this Mom Donnie is actually a pretty gifted person. I tell you what, he's like I said, he's humanist. He's a very humanist person. So I don't know how he's going to be as a governor. I got to keep stressing that. I mean, a mayor. But he seems to be a really decent person. I mean, I get that vibe from him, and I always have. So that's all I wanted to say. Okay. The House Oversight Committee demands that both Clintons appear for depositions concerning the Epstein stuff. Bill is supposed to do his deposition on the 17th of December, and Hillary is supposed to do hers on the 18th. Obviously, it's going to be, something is going to be scuttled there. I don't recall this, I don't recall that, or whatever, sort of a deal. And this whole thing is a cover-up for the super rich people. And they all protect each other. They all protect each other. And there's nothing going to become of this. Ghislaine Maxwell is also supposed to appear before Congress. She's expected to plead the Fifth Amendment. What is it about this number 5? The Pentagon, that's 5-sided building. We have the Fifth Amendment. We have Article 5. We have the Five Eyes spy program. And now we have the Fifth Amendment. So everything is in fives. What is about a 5-headed hydra? Anyway. Diane Panchenko. She is the I think I talked about her, didn't I already? Yes. She's anyway, I talked about her. Yeah, hundreds of millions leaving Ukraine. Wow. I didn't forget that part. And it's a big cover-up, of course. The EU governments are covering all of this stuff up. So that's flooding into Europe, these hundreds and hundreds of millions in dollars, I guess, or euros, and they're covering it all up. It's absolutely incredible. And most of these people are all from Zelensky's inner circle that are going. Wow. What do they mean by the inner circle? I don't know. Some of them, of course, are still over there. Maybe their millions are flooding over there, but their flesh and blood might still be in Ukraine, but it's soon to be going somewhere else. Okay. Secretary Rowlands of the Department of Agriculture said yesterday that there's still 186,000 dead people that are still getting federal benefits like Social Security and all that, and that only 29 states complied with Donald Trump's fraud investigation of this money that just goes to dead people. 29 states, and the other ones probably Democrat. Somehow I believe it's Democrat states that are not complying with that. Yeah. And another little piece of information. Russian soldiers found a big cache of stockpile of chemical weapons by the Ukrainians. You know, and I've been talking about that. A lot of people, they kind of skip over it, don't think it's important, but some Russian soldiers have died from chemical weapons poisoning. And I didn't like to say that because people are still enlisting and going into the Russian military. And it's a nasty thing. And I did, like I said, some chemical training, and I really hated that. I don't like it at all. And the base that I did this on is closed down, and most places no humans are allowed to go there anymore. Fort McClellan, Alabama, Greenbow, Alabama, Forrest Gump from Greenbow, Alabama. But anyway, yeah, nasty stuff there. Is that the chemical school there? MPs and everything were training. That's MP school, was MP school. What it is now, I don't know. A no man's zone place. I remember training, we rented go-karts and go around the track, you know, the go-kart thing. First time I ever saw anything like that. Anyway, let's keep going. I told you that Candace Owens also had a death threat against her. Wow. And it's a whistleblower from the French government somewhere, a French government employee. And I can almost even tell you which department where this person is at, but I won't, because maybe those people are stupid and they can't figure it out. But anyway, I won't lead into anything. But anyhow, it was a whistleblower from the French government that Macron and his wife have paid and commissioned an assassination against Candace Owens and a reporter as well. And I guess she has credible evidence. And I tell you what, don't challenge Candace Owens. She gets receipts and she keeps the receipts, and she will show you the receipts if it comes down to it. So not only did Marjorie Taylor Greene have threats on her life, but Candace Owens has threats on her life. I mean, what is it with assassination nowadays? They tried to get Donald Trump twice. Weird stuff anyhow. Why is it that the Democrats never get anybody they never get any threats against them? The Israelis never get any threats to assassinate them. Why is it always the people that are opposite the Democrats, opposite the Israelis? In other words, they're antagonists that get the death threats and get assassinations put against them. That's really strange. I don't understand it. That's some kind of strange deal. Makes you wonder, who is doing these assassinations? Anyway, don't worry our heads trying to think about that. So, anyway, the green light was given to a small team, and she even kind of goes into what this team is. Gendarmes I guess it's an arm of the police force they got the green light to do this. So they have a team out. So she knows a lot of the details that are supposed to be doing this. And this same person, one of this team is Israeli. Imagine that. What a friggin' coincidence. So one of the team, and I can almost bet, how do I get this, that this is probably one of the leaders of this team. I don't understand how I got that. But anyway, why Israeli? Because that's in France. So anyway, and that's probably the best person, the one that knows what they're doing more than the rest of the team. They probably that Israeli has some friggin' experience, if I'm not mistaken. So she also found out that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with not that same group or something, but with a French elite force. She even mentions what that force is, I guess in a tweet, with multi-state involvement. So in other words, it's not just the French. And something tells me that Israel is also, that's one of those people in that multi-state. And Candace Owens did not want to come right out and say it, but I can bet you that somehow one of the multi-state actors is Israel. I don't even know how I get that. It's just some sort of a crystal ball that comes to me. And also this journalist that's also has this threat is named Xavier Possard, also targeted. So, and also apparently the leadership of the United States also knows about this operation. I don't know, I'm not saying Donald Trump, but somehow leadership in the United States knows about this. Probably the Democrats. I have not the faint, maybe Lindsey Graham. I would say Lindsey Graham. I tell you what, more than anything, I would probably say Lindsey Graham is involved in this. He loves this kind of stuff. He loves it. He likes it. He likes it a lot. Oh, these people are looking at me. Oh my God. It's a guy and his girlfriend there just walked by. Okay. Let's see. Apparently somebody wants to shut up these people that are talking about Epstein and Israel a lot. Why is that? Why is there such an effort to shut up these people? I mean, I'm such a small channel. I'm lucky. So you guys, well, I'll tell you what, there are people trying to, well, I'm just suppressed, but they're not trying to kill me or shut me up so much. So, well, I guess suppressing your channel on YouTube is kind of like shutting me up as well. So anyway, but it's the Israeli firsters. One of them is, that doesn't like this stuff, Donald Trump. That's why he's more than pleased that Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning. So he is very happy. Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of his biggest supporters. Why would you be so happy when one of your biggest supporters in your party is resigning? Maybe because your financial supporters are happy. And I guess money talks, and I don't know, something talk walks, I guess. The talk walks. You walk the talk. Talk walks, and money talk. Wait, money talks. Anyway, a bunch of people are talking. I guess that's what it's all comes down to. Anyway, so Lukashenko, he released 31 people from prison. I don't know, maybe it was yesterday or whatever, under a deal with Trump, I guess, Donald Trump. And I think it's like somehow to normalize relations. I hope that Lukashenko is not going to get screwed over by Trump. I don't know. Maybe Donald Trump keeps a lot of his promises, and we'll see. I don't know. This is going to be very interesting. But all of these people, if not all of them, were Ukrainian. They were Ukrainian people. And I'll tell you what, just between you and me, at one point in time, and I heard this from somebody from, I don't know if I should get into this. Oh gosh, because then the KGB might come and talk to me and say, who was this person? Anyway, somebody told me there were these people in downtown in Ukraine, in Minsk, and they were singing a Ukrainian song once, and they were arrested and they got put into prison. And I bet you those are some of the people that were released. And it turns out these people are Ukrainian, and they were trying, and of course there's a secret sort of a deal here. And it's a very weird thing that clapping in public, there's kind of a law against that for the meantime in Belarus, because that means if you just start clapping, you won't see that on the streets in Belarus. You can see it maybe if you're watching a play, or maybe in a movie theater, things like that, but not just out cold on the streets in Belarus, because that means that that's a signal that you're like opposition, and like maybe even pro-Ukrainian and all that sort of thing. So it's a signal. Very strange. It's like ooh. Anyway, weird information. If you guys just wanted to get some really interesting information there, and I hope I'm still alive tomorrow. No, anyway. Anyway, that's about all I have to say for today. It's some really interesting news. I hope you guys share it, and maybe the suppression. Somebody also was telling me, somebody was hinting that there was another person, a very famous vlogger, they do the same thing. YouTube does the same thing to that person as they do to me, but they just caught me a lot earlier. And I used to get a lot more, at least more listed views. I think, I used to average 100 and something like that. It's not like I got worse or whatever, and now I got more subscribers. YouTube has not eliminated my subscribers. Now, they were doing that to the Irish Partisan. They kept dropping his subscribers every time he made a video. It was really weird. I don't know, but they haven't done that to me yet. And I don't know, it's some really weird stuff. All of this espionage stuff with social media, it's a whole new world today. It's a whole new world. The media companies and whoever controls them and things, they're playing within the game as well. Very interesting stuff, very interesting. Anyway, I'm glad of those people that do watch this video, and maybe make a comment. Maybe I'll have comments from 20 people, and yet I'll only have 17 views, and it's like, well, what the heck? How did that happen? I get sometimes 4 likes and only 2 views. It's like, what the? Anyway, very weird stuff. Anyway, I got to look at this humorously, because anyway, people, thanks very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. So bye-bye.